Hello. So this is the second time I've done this video. Usually don't do that. I like to be as raw and unedited as I possibly can, but I was really emotional because this is a very, very sensitive topic for me to talk about, because it's a passion of mine. I think I was born with it. Plus, I've experienced it for myself, and that is trauma. It's a very much a sensitive topic for me and probably for many other people to talk about. And I'm not going to go into specifically what my traumas were in this video. I just wanted to maybe reach out, hopefully, people that are, maybe run across this video and need some help and direction. First, I kind of want to talk about exactly trauma, what trauma is. It's experiencing something in your life that affects you or impacts you. It impacts your mind and your brain and your emotions. It can cause damage in different things, different other types of mental illnesses such as depression or PTSD. And I wanted to talk about it because, and like I said, it's a very sensitive topic for me. We're approaching Veterans Day. I have a passion for veterans who've experienced PTSD, and children who experience trauma and PTSD as well. So if I get a little teary-eyed, it's because I'm really holding it back. I have a hard time with this, talking about it. So, if you're listening, and I don't know you personally, just want you to know that, even though I do have a degree in trauma counseling, I also have a heart and passion for it. So I'm just letting you know that I'm a counselor. But, just, the main thing to remember if you're experiencing trauma is just know that, the more you're able to talk about it, the easier it becomes, and that's like the beginning, that's like the stages of healing. It's really important to not isolate yourself. If you feel like you're in a place where it's just too much to handle, and you're going through different, for some people it's anniversaries, and that's with any trauma, and I'll give myself a for instance. I know there's different types of trauma, like I said. So for many years, this time of year was really hard for me, and I'm finally coming out of that. And for many years, I didn't really even know, up until a couple of years ago, or probably, a couple of years ago, didn't really know why it was around this time of year, why I was always depressed feeling, and, just kind of did not want to celebrate the holidays. And that's because of the different events surrounding Christmas where I was traumatized. But, over the years, I've talked about it. Be honest with you, I never really got any professional help. I kind of like healed myself from it, and I'm not recommending that for everybody because it takes a lot to do that when you're, on your own. And that kind of leads me to the next subject of, like I was mentioning, self-isolation. That's the worst thing you can do if you're experiencing, like reminiscing on, around anniversaries. Um, you know, find somebody that you can trust to talk to about them. You know, people that love you are not going to feel burdened by you talking to them about your trauma. Um, and I'm sorry if they do. You know, some people, they want to, you know, like nowadays it's hard to find a good doctor, you know, someone who really has a passion for it. Oftentimes they want to give you like medications, and just that all that does is kind of cover it up. It doesn't really, it helps you like on a physical level to get through things, but it doesn't bring you the healing that you need. You know, trauma affects your emotions, it affects your heart too, not just your brain itself. So there's a lot of things that come with trauma that you need, you know, healing from. So, you know, finding someone who you can really trust to talk to, um, finding, you know, someone who will listen to you without judging you, without blaming, you know, making you feel less than, or, you know, making you feel, you know, insignificant, or brushing you away, or someone who really wants to hear you out and listen to you. It's important for your healing to be able to talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the easier it becomes, and the more you heal from it. So, you know, and I like to say that's why I'm here. You know, of course, I believe that God puts us, you know, puts people in our path for a reason. You know, and all I would ever want is somebody who is experiencing trauma or has experienced it, just to know that, you know, that I'll listen. You know, that's just me. You know, I'd like, I would like for people, especially people who are near to me, to be able to talk to me about stuff that's bothering them, you know, in general. But, you know, the more you talk about your traumatic event, the easier it becomes to talk about it, and the more healing you get from it. It's extremely important. You know, and I know that there's like NA meetings and AA meetings here locally and in most towns. What I would really like to have is, you know, for people to come and talk about their trauma, because you're not only sharing it with, you know, sharing it with just one person, you're sharing it with many people, maybe people who've experienced the same thing. So, and they're listening to you tell your story, and, you know, the more you talk about it, like I said, the more details you talk about with the surrounding the trauma, the easier it becomes. And then, of course, to be able to talk about it, you know, before it leads to worse things like, you know, suppressing it with substances. That, you know, that most of the time trauma leads to substance use and abuse. So hopefully, you find help with that before it gets out of hand. And if not, you know, I mean, still, the more you talk about the trauma, the less you feel like you have to suppress it with something. It's much like a wound. Like if you have a wound somewhere, you know, you can put band-aids on it all day long, and eventually it might heal. There'll still be a scar there, but you also have to expose that wound to get real healing for it. You can't keep it covered up all the time, you know. So anyway, as we approach Veterans Day, my heart becomes very heavy, and You know, if you're one that has experienced, you know, some kind of PTSD surrounding the military, you know, just know that, you know, if not me, hopefully somebody you can find a trusted somebody to talk to about these things. And I'm learning to, I mean, because I'm such a feeler for it, and it's such a deep subject for me. You know, I get very emotional when it comes to combat and just veterans. You know, because it was more important to them to fight for their country and for our freedom than for them to spend the rest of their life dealing with their PTSD. So we don't have enough, we don't do enough for our veterans. And just know that, you know, there are people out there that love you and honor you and care about you and want you to get better, because you deserve that. You gave everything for us. So the least we can do is be there. Anyway, like I said, this is not an easy subject for me. So, remember that not everybody's against you, and people do love you and want you to get healing. So, that's all for now. Have a good night.